What if the life you're living is built on lies you've never questioned? What if the beliefs you hold about success, love, or even yourself are shadows cast by someone else's light? Imagine Socrates, the man who shook Athens with nothing but questions, standing before you now. Why do you chase what you chase? He'd ask, his gaze unflinching. What makes your life worth living? These aren't just words. They are a mirror held up to your soul. Socrates, condemned to death for daring to ask, believed that an unexamined life is not worth living. His questions cut through the noise of our modern world, endless notifications, fleeting trends, and shallow answers. They force you to pause, to dig deeper, to confront the uncomfortable truth. Do you truly know what you believe? Or are you sleepwalking through a life others designed for you? Today, Socrates' voice calls across centuries, urging you to wake up, to question, to live authentically. Are you ready to answer him this Socratic Spark, where ancient wisdom meets modern success? If you love timeless lessons and powerful motivation, hit subscribe and let's grow together. Socrates is not a name you merely read in dusty books. He is a voice, sharp, relentless, and alive, whispering in your ear across 2,400 years. In the bustling streets of Athens, he was a gadfly, stinging the complacent with questions that exposed their shallow beliefs. He didn't write treatises or build monuments. He simply asked, why? Why do you believe what you believe? Why do you live as you do? Those questions made him dangerous. So dangerous that Athens, the cradle of democracy, sentenced him to death. Yet, in killing him, they made him immortal. His ideas, carried by Plato, Aristotle, and countless others, shaped the very way we think about truth, justice, and the good life. Today, in a world of fleeting trends and unexamined lives, Socrates' philosophy is not just relevant, it's urgent. Why does he matter to you? Because you, like all of us, wrestle with questions of meaning. You face pressures to conform, to chase hollow goals, to silence your doubts. Socrates' life shows us how to resist. His mantra, "The unexamined life is not worth living," is a call to action, a demand to interrogate your beliefs, to live with integrity, to seek truth even when it's painful. He was no saint. He was a provocateur, a man who laughed in the face of power and sipped poison with a smile. Misunderstood by his peers, condemned by his city, he became a beacon for anyone who dares to think for themselves. This speech isn't just about Socrates' life. It's about what his life demands of you. Through his story, his trial, his dialogues, his death, you'll find tools to sharpen your mind, strengthen your courage, and rediscover your purpose. His questions will strip away illusions, leaving you face to face with the truth about yourself. By the end, you'll see that Socrates doesn't just belong to history. He belongs to you, to this moment, to the choices you make today. Let's walk with him through Athens and uncover the wisdom that can transform your life. Every day, you're told what to think. Advertisements scream what you need. Social media dictates what's true. Yet deep inside, a quiet voice asks, "Is this right?" That voice is your Socrates, urging you to question. In Athens, Socrates roamed the agora, challenging politicians, poets, and craftsmen. What is justice? He asked a statesman. What is beauty? He pressed a poet. Their answers crumbled under his scrutiny, revealing not knowledge but pretense. This was his method, relentless questioning to uncover truth. It wasn't about winning debates. It was about waking minds. Picture Socrates at the marketplace, his eyes twinkling as he corners a smug sophist. "You claim to know virtue," he says, "but can you define it?" The sophist fumbles, and the crowd laughs. But Socrates isn't mocking. His teaching, his questions expose the fragility of untested beliefs. Plato, his student, captures this in dialogues like Euthyphro, where Socrates dismantled pious certainties with surgical precision. He didn't seek followers, he sought thinkers. Today, you face the same challenge. What do you believe about success, love, or morality? Have you tested those beliefs, or are they borrowed? Socrates' courage wasn't physical, it was intellectual. He questioned Athens' gods, its laws, its heroes, knowing it could cost him his life. And it did. Yet his courage lives in every question you dare to ask. Try this. Next time you're told what's true, by a friend, a headline, or your own habits, pause. Ask, why do I believe this? What's the evidence? It's uncomfortable, even risky. You might lose illusions or friends, but you'll gain clarity. As Socrates showed, questioning isn't rebellion. It's a path to freedom. But what if questioning reveals you know nothing? Socrates saw this not as failure, but as a first step to wisdom. I know that I know nothing, Socrates declared. It's a paradox that stunned Athens and still shocks us. How can admitting ignorance be wisdom? Imagine a young Athenian, puffed up with confidence, claiming to understand justice. Socrates approaches, his questions gentle but relentless. By the end, the youth is humbled, aware of his gaps. This is Socrates' gift, showing that true wisdom begins when you embrace what you don't know. In Plato's Apology, Socrates recounts his quest to find someone wiser than himself. He questioned experts, politicians, poets, artisans, and found them all lacking, not because they knew nothing, but because they thought they knew everything. Their certainty blinded them. Socrates, by contrast, was free. His ignorance was a lantern, illuminating the vast unknown. Today, we're bombarded with certainty. Politicians proclaim answers, influencers sell solutions, algorithms feed us echo chambers. But certainty is a trap. It stops you from growing. Socrates' humility invites you to question your own dogmas. Do you really understand your values, or are they inherited? Are you open to being wrong? Practically, this means embracing doubt. Next time you're sure about a belief, a choice, a judgment, ask, what if I'm wrong? Seek out opposing views. Listen, not to argue, but to learn. This is Socratic wisdom, not having all the answers, but having the courage to seek them. This courage led Socrates to his greatest test, a trial where truth itself was on trial. In 399 BC, Socrates stood before 500 Athenian jurors, accused of corrupting the youth and impiety. The air was thick with tension. His accusers, Meletus and Anytus, painted him as a danger, a man whose questions undermined Athens' gods and values. Socrates didn't flinch. In Plato's Apology, he defends himself not by begging for mercy, but by demanding truth. I will obey the god rather than you, he tells the jury, and while I have breath, I will continue to teach. His trial was not just about him. It was about the right to question, to seek truth, no matter the cost. Picture the scene. A crowded courtroom, the jury's eyes hard with judgment. Socrates, calm and resolute, speaks of his divine mission to awaken Athens. He could have apologized, compromised, or fled. Instead, he chose death, sipping hemlock with serenity that baffled his executioners. Why? Because truth was his god, and he would not betray it. Today, you face trials of truth. Perhaps it's speaking out against a lie at work, challenging a cultural norm, or standing alone for what's right. These moments test your soul. Socrates shows that truth demands sacrifice, sometimes of comfort, status, or even safety. But it's worth it. His death was a triumph, proving that ideas outlive empires. Reflect. When did you last stand for truth? Next time you face a lie, big or small, ask, what would Socrates do? Speak up, even if your voice shakes. Truth is a flame that burns but also illuminates. This pursuit of truth stems from a deeper conviction that an unexamined life is not worth living. The unexamined life is not worth living, Socrates said at his trial. It's a sentence that echoes like a thunderclap. What does it mean? Imagine a life where you never pause to ask why you act, why you believe, why you exist. It's a life of habit, not choice, of motion, not meaning. Socrates saw this as a betrayal of the soul. To live well, you must question, not just the world, but yourself. In Plato's Crito, Socrates, imprisoned and facing death, debates with his friend Crito, who urges him to escape. Socrates refuses, questioning the morality of fleeing justice. His principles held firm, even against death. This was his examined life, every choice weighed, every belief tested, every action aligned with virtue. Now, look at your life. Are you running on autopilot? Do you work, love, or dream because you chose to, or because it's expected? The unexamined life is comfortable but empty. Socrates challenges to stop, reflect, and choose. Ask, what do I value? Why do I live this way? These questions are hard. They expose fears, regrets, and contradictions. But they also reveal purpose. Start small. Set aside 10 minutes daily to journal one question about your life. Why do I stay in this job? What does happiness mean to me? Let Socrates guide you. The answers may surprise you, but they'll lead you to a life worth living. At the heart of this examined life lies virtue, the compass that guided Socrates' every step. For Socrates, virtue was not a word. It was the soul's compass. He believed that knowledge of the good leads to doing the good. In dialogues like Meno, he probes, what is virtue? Is it courage, justice, wisdom, or all of these? For Socrates, it was a pursuit of excellence, the alignment of your actions with truth. Unlike the sophists, who sold success, Socrates taught that virtue is its own reward. Imagine him in Athens, surrounded by wealth and power, yet living in poverty, barefoot, devoted to ideas. He didn't chase fame or riches. His wealth was his integrity. When offered escape from prison, he refused, arguing that harming others, even to save himself, would wound his soul. Virtue was his guide, unyielding even in death. Today, virtue feels old-fashioned. We're taught to prioritize results over rightness, wealth over wisdom. But Socrates' life asks, what's the cost of betraying your values? A promotion gained by deceit? A relationship built on lies? These erode the soul. Virtue, he argued, brings harmony within yourself and with the world. Apply this. Next time you face a moral choice, pause. Ask, is this just? Is this true to me? Let virtue steer you like a compass through a storm. It's not easy, but as Socrates showed, it's the only path to a life of meaning. His life of virtue lives on, not in statues, but in the dialogues that continue to shape our world. Socrates wrote nothing, yet his voice echoes through history. His legacy is a Socratic dialogue, a method of questioning to uncover truth, preserved by Plato and past Aristotle, Augustine, Nietzsche, and beyond. This dialogue isn't just a debate. It's a dance of minds, a shared journey toward understanding. In works like The Republic, Socrates' questions about justice, love, and the good life still burn brightly. Picture him in a quiet Athenian courtyard, surrounded by students, asking, what is a good? Each answer sparks a new question, peeling back layers of assumption. This method taught the world to think critically, to seek truth through dialogue, not dogma. Today, it's a root of philosophy, science, and democracy. You can live this legacy. In conversations, don't preach, ask. When a friend shares a belief, say, why do you think that? When you face a problem, question its roots. This isn't argument, it's exploration. Socratic dialogue builds bridges, not walls. It's how we grow, together. His influence endures in every classroom, courtroom, and quiet moment of reflection. Nietzsche called him the turning point of history. He wasn't wrong. Socrates' questions are a gift, a tool to navigate the chaos of 2025 and beyond. As we close, let's return to the man himself and the life he lived for truth. You're watching Socratic Spark. If his philosophy sparks something in you, subscribe now and keep the flame of knowledge alive. You stand at a crossroads, unsure which path to take. The world screams directions. Follow this career, chase that dream, conform to this truth. But a quiet question lingers. Who are you? Socrates believed that true wisdom begins with knowing yourself. In the bustling agora of Athens, he pressed his students not just to define justice or virtue, but to uncover the truths hidden within their own souls. Know thyself, inscribed at the temple of Apollo in Delphi, was his guiding star. Without self-knowledge, he argued, all other knowledge is hollow. Picture Socrates sitting with Alcibiades, a charismatic young Athenian destined for greatness. In Plato's Alcibiades' Eye, Socrates challenges him. You aim to lead Athens, but do you know your own heart? Alcibiades, confident in his charm, falters as Socrates' questions reveal his unexamined ambitions. This is a Socratic method at its core, not just exposing ignorance, but guiding the soul inward. Socrates didn't lecture. He asked, peeling back layers of pretense until his students face themselves. Why does this matter today? You live in a world that distracts you from self-knowledge. Social media curates your identity. Work defines your worth. Opinions shape your beliefs. But who are you beneath these masks? Socrates' life shows that self-knowledge is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Without it, you're a ship adrift, steered by others' winds. He faced death because he knew who he was, a seeker of truth, loyal to his soul's calling. Apply this now. Take a moment each day to ask, what do I truly want? What fears hold me back? Journal your answers, not to judge, but to understand. Self-knowledge is a mirror, reflecting both flaws and strengths. It's uncomfortable. Socrates' students often squirmed, but it's liberating. As he showed, to know yourself is to claim your life. Consider modern thinkers like Carl Jung, who echoed Socrates in urging us to explore the shadow within. Or take Nietzsche, who revered Socrates' unflinching honesty. Their ideas trace back to this Athenian gadfly, whose questions still demand you look inward. Self-knowledge is power, not over others, but over your own destiny. Yet knowing yourself often means standing apart, defying the crowd that demands conformity. The crowd roars, and its weight presses against you. It's easy to blend in, to nod along, to silence your doubts. But Socrates stood alone. In Athens, where democracy thrived on collective opinion, he dared to defy the crowd. His questions challenged the city's gods, its leaders, its traditions, not out of malice, but from a conviction that truth bows to no majority. In Plato's Crito, he rejected escape from prison, refusing to follow the crowd's urge to save himself at the cost of his principles. The opinions of the many, he said, are not the measure of truth. Imagine Socrates in the Agora, surrounded by merchants and politicians, all certain of their wisdom. He asked the general, "What is courage?" The man's confident. Answer unravels under scrutiny, and the crowd grows restless. They wanted answers. Socrates gave them questions. This defiance made him enemies. Athens loved its democracy but feared his independence. His trial was a crowd's revenge, a warning to those who think for themselves. Today, the crowd is louder than ever. Algorithms amplify popular opinions. Social pressures demand you conform. But Socrates' life asks, will you trade truth for acceptance? Defying the crowd doesn't mean rebellion for its own sake. It means loyalty to reason. When you scroll through X or face a workplace dogma, pause. Ask, is this true or just popular? Try this. Next time you feel pressure to agree on politics, trends, or values, ask, what do I think? Speak your truth, even if it's unpopular. It's not easy. Socrates paid with his life. But his defiance shows that one voice, grounded in reason, can outlast 1,000 shouts. His legacy inspired rebels like Martin Luther King Jr., who stood alone against injustice, echoing Socrates' courage. Defying the crowd frees you to pursue what truly matters. Happiness, the Socratic way. What is happiness? The question burns in every heart, yet answers elude us. Socrates believed happiness wasn't found in wealth, fame, or pleasure, but in a life aligned with virtue. In Plato's Gorgias, he debates rhetoricians who chase power and applause. Happiness, he insists, comes from a soul in harmony, guided by justice and wisdom. For Socrates, happiness was not a fleeting feeling but a state of being, crafted through an examined life. Picture him in a quiet Athenian courtyard, teaching a young student. If you seek pleasure alone, he says, you're like a man chasing shadows. His dialogues reveal a radical idea. Happiness requires effort, not indulgence. He lived this truth, poor, mocked, yet content. Even as he faced death, Plato describes him as serene, his soul unshaken by fear. Why? Because his happiness was rooted in virtue, not circumstance. Today, we're sold a different story. Advertisements promise joy through possessions. Social media equates it with likes. But Socrates' question cuts through. Are you chasing shadows? True happiness, he taught, comes from within, from living authentically, questioning deeply, and acting justly. It's not easy. It means saying no to quick fixes and facing hard truths about yourself. Reflect. What brings you joy? Is it fleeting or lasting? Try this. List 3 actions that align with your deepest values. Helping a friend, creating art, seeking truth. Do one this week. Socrates' life shows that happiness is not found but built, brick by virtuous brick. Philosophers like Aristotle, who called happiness the highest good, built on Socrates' foundation. His pursuit lights your path today. This pursuit requires persistence, a relentless sting to keep you awake, the work of the eternal gadfly. Socrates called himself a gadfly, stinging Athens from its slumber. In Plato's Apology, he says, "I am that gadfly which God has attached to the state to stir it into life." His questions were his sting, waking people from the sleep of unexamined lives. Athens killed a gadfly, but its sting endures, pricking us still. To be a gadfly is to challenge complacency, to provoke thought, to demand truth, no matter the cost. Imagine Socrates in the marketplace, his voice cutting through the chatter. "Why do you honor wealth over wisdom?" he asked a merchant. The man bristles, but the question lingers. Socrates' role wasn't to comfort but to unsettle, to push Athens toward truth. His death only amplified his sting. Plato carried it, then Aristotle, then thinkers like Kant and Kierkegaard, all pricked by his relentless spirit. You, too, can be a gadfly. In a world lulled by routine and distraction, your questions are a wake-up call. At work, ask why processes are followed blindly. In conversations, challenge assumptions with curiosity, not anger. On platforms like X, share ideas that provoke thought, not just agreement. Being a gadfly isn't about being contrarian, it's about sparking growth. Try this. Identify one area of your life, work, family, society, where complacency reigns. Ask a bold question. Why do we do it this way? Listen, reflect, act. It's risky. Socrates' sting led to hemlock, but it's vital. His life proved that one question can ripple through centuries, waking minds long after you're gone. These questions, this sting, return us to Socrates' core, a life lived for truth, examined and eternal. You wake each morning, swept into the current of routine. Wake, notifications, obligations. But when did you last choose your path with intention? Socrates lived deliberately, every step a conscious act toward truth. In Plato's Phaedo, as he faces death, he speaks calmly of the soul's journey, not with fear, but with purpose. His life was no accident. It was a masterpiece crafted through choice, reflection, and relentless questioning. To live deliberately, Socrates taught, is to sculpt your soul with a chisel of awareness, carving meaning from the raw stone of existence. Picture Athens at dawn, the agora stirring with merchants and philosophers. Socrates, barefoot and unassuming, weaves through the crowd, pausing to ask a young craftsman, "Why do you toil? What life are you building?" The man, focused on profit, stumbles over his answer. Socrates' question isn't cruel, it's a wake-up call. In dialogues like Latches, he probes courage, not to embarrass, but to urge his listeners to live with purpose. He believed that every action, every belief, should be chosen, not inherited. This was his art, a life examined, intentional, aligned with truth. Today, you're pulled in 1,000 directions. Algorithms dictate your attention. Society scripts your goals. Yet Socrates' voice cuts through. Choose your life. Deliberate living means pausing to ask, is this who I want to be? It's rejecting the autopilot of habit for the helm of intention. He didn't chase wealth or status. His wealth was his clarity, his status his integrity. When Athens offered him escape from death, he chose to stay, deliberate to the end, loyal to his principles. Why does this matter? Because an unchosen life is a shadow. You might succeed by society's standards, money, followers, acclaim, but if it's not your path, it's hollow. Socrates' deliberate life cost him comfort, yet it gave him immortality. His questions in the agora, his calm in the courtroom, his serenity in death, all were choices, each a brushstroke in his life portrait. Plato captures this in Crito, where Socrates refuses to flee, arguing that a life without justice is no life at all. His choice echoes through history, influencing thinkers like Thoreau, who preached deliberate living in Walden, and Gandhi, who lived intentionally for truth. How do you live deliberately in 2025? Start with a single question. What matters most to me? Write it down. Let it guide one decision today, whether it's how you spend your time, who you listen to, or what you stand for. This is hard. The world rewards speed, not reflection. Your phone buzzes, your inbox overflows, your fears whisper to conform. But Socrates shows that every deliberate choice is a rebellion against chaos. He was no king, no warrior, yet his intentional life reshaped the world. Aristotle built his ethics on Socratic foundations. Augustine wove his questions into Christianity. Their deliberate lives trace back to this Athenian who chose truth over ease. Try this. Set aside 1 hour this week to reflect. No screens, no noise. Ask, what am I building with my life? List 3 actions that align with your deepest values, perhaps kindness, learning, or courage. Do one today. It might feel small, but Socrates' life proves that small choices, made deliberately, ripple outward. When he questioned the sophists, he didn't know Plato would record it. When he chose death over exile, he didn't know it would inspire millions. Yet each choice was deliberate, a thread in the tapestry of his legacy. Living deliberately isn't about perfection, it's about awareness. You'll falter. Socrates did too. He admitted his ignorance, faced his doubts, yet kept choosing. In Meno, he explores virtue, not claiming to know it, but seeking it with intention. That's the art, not having all the answers, but choosing to seek them. Today, you might choose to speak truth in a meeting, to forgive a friend, to pursue a dream others mock. Each choice is a stroke of your chisel, shaping the life only you can live. This art requires courage, for deliberate living often means standing alone. Socrates did, facing Athens' wrath. You might face judgment, doubt, or failure. But as he showed, a life chosen with intention is a life worth living. His questions are your tools. Why do you act? What do you value? Who are you becoming? Ask them daily, and you'll find clarity amid chaos. His deliberate life wasn't easy, but it was true. Yours can be too. This deliberate life demands integrity, a price Socrates paid in full, a price that defines his legacy. Integrity is a quiet vow, a promise to your soul. Socrates lived it, even when it led to his death. In Plato's Apology, he tells the Athenian jury, a man who is good for anything ought not to calculate the chance of living or dying. He ought only to consider whether in doing anything he is doing right or wrong. Condemned for questioning Athens' gods and youth, he could have begged for mercy or fled. Instead, he stood firm, choosing truth over life. Integrity was his currency, and he paid its price without hesitation. Imagine the courtroom, 399 BC. The jury's murmurs fill the air as Socrates speaks, his voice steady, almost defiant. His accusers, Meletus and Anytus, demand punishment, claiming his questions corrupt the young. Socrates doesn't waver. I will not change my ways, he declares, even if I die many times. His integrity wasn't blind stubbornness. It was a commitment to truth, forged through years of questioning in the Agora. In Crito, his friend urges escape, but Socrates refuses, arguing that breaking the law, even an unjust one, would betray his soul. He drank the hemlock, proving integrity's cost. Today, integrity feels like a relic. We're tempted to bend, fudge a report, stay silent in a lie, chase gain over good. But Socrates' life asks, what's the price of betraying yourself? A promotion won by deceit? A relationship built on pretense? These erode the soul, leaving you hollow. Socrates' integrity was his shield, protecting him from a life of regret. He lived simply, owned little, yet was rich in principle. His trial wasn't just a clash with Athens. It was a testament to living true. Apply this. When faced with a choice, say, to speak out or stay silent. Ask, what's right, not what's easy. Integrity often costs you. You might lose a job, a friend, or approval. Socrates lost his life, yet his integrity made him eternal. Plato preserved his words. Aristotle built on his ethics. Even Nietzsche, critical of Socrates, admired his unyielding spirit. Integrity's price buys something greater, a life you can stand behind. Try this. Identify one moment this week where you can choose integrity. Maybe it's admitting a mistake at work, confronting a friend's wrong, or refusing to follow a crowd's lie. It's not easy. Socrates' path wasn't. But each act of integrity strengthens your soul, like a muscle honed by effort. His life shows that integrity isn't about being perfect. It's about being true, even when it hurts. This commitment to truth fuels a quest for justice, a fire that burned brightly in Socrates' heart. What is justice? It's a question that haunts every heart, from the streets of Athens to the digital agora of 2025. Socrates made it his mission to seek justice, not as a law, but as a truth etched in the soul. In Plato's Republic, he debates with Thrasymachus, who claims justice is the advantage of the strong. Socrates dismantles this, arguing that justice is a harmony of the soul, where reason rules desire. His quest wasn't abstract. It was personal, lived in every question he asked, every principle he upheld. Picture Socrates in the agora, surrounded by eager youths. Is justice what the powerful decree? He asks. A young man nods, citing Athens' laws. Socrates smiles, then probes, but what if the law is wrong? His questions, recorded in Euthyphro, expose the fragility of legal justice, pushing his listeners to seek a deeper truth. He wasn't content with rules. He sought the essence of fairness, the balance of right and wrong. This quest led him to his trial, where he faced an unjust law with unwavering resolve. Today, justice feels elusive. Systems favor the powerful. Biases cloud fairness. Socrates' quest asks, what does justice mean to you? Is it revenge, equality, or something more? His life shows that justice begins within, by questioning your actions, aligning them with truth. He didn't overthrow Athens' laws, but he challenged their moral weight, even at the cost of his life. Apply this. When you see injustice, a lie at work, a wrong in your community, ask, what's just here? Act on it, even if it's small. Socrates' quest inspired thinkers like John Rawls, who reimagined justice as fairness. His questions are your tools. Why is this wrong? How can I make it right? Justice is a journey, not a destination, and Socrates lights the way. This journey thrives in uncertainty, a realm Socrates embraces, the birthplace of wisdom. Certainty is a cage, locking you in untested beliefs. Socrates saw uncertainty as a canvas, where wisdom is painted with questions. I know that I know nothing, he said, a declaration that freed him to explore. In Plato's Meno, he leads a slave boy to discover geometric truths through questions alone, proving that uncertainty is not a flaw but a gateway. Socrates' life was a dance with the unknown, each step a question, each question a step toward truth. Imagine him in a quiet Athenian courtyard, twilight falling. A student asks, what is knowledge? Socrates doesn't answer. He questions back, unraveling assumptions. His embrace of uncertainty wasn't weakness. It was strength. He faced Athens' wrath, his own death, with a calm born of accepting the unknown. In Phaedo, as he drinks hemlock, he muses on the soul's fate, not with fear, but with curiosity. Uncertainty was his muse. Today, we fear the unknown. We cling to answers, Google, experts, trends, hoping they'll save us. But Socrates' life asks, what if uncertainty is your ally? It invites you to question, to grow, to live openly. In 2025, when information overwhelms, embrace the unknown. Ask, what don't I know? Seek, don't assume. Try this. Face one uncertainty, your career, a relationship, a belief. Ask, what's possible here? Explore without needing answers. Socrates' uncertainty inspired Descartes' doubt, Hume's skepticism. His beauty lies in its freedom. Uncertainty is where truth begins. This freedom fuels the soul's rebellion, the final act of Socratic courage. Socrates was a rebel, not with swords, but with questions. His rebellion was of the soul, a refusal to bow to lies, conformity, or fear. In Plato's Apology, he tells the jury, I'd rather die than stop questioning. His life was a revolt against Athens. Complacency, its false gods, its hollow values. He didn't seek to destroy. He sought to awaken. This rebellion cost him his life, but it birthed a legacy that still stays souls. Picture Socrates in prison, his final hours. The hemlock waits, yet he laughs with friends, debates the soul's immortality. His rebellion wasn't anger, it was fidelity to truth. In Crito, he rejects escape, choosing principle over survival. This was his soul's revolt, to live and die on his terms, unshackled by fear or convention. Today, your soul longs a rebel, against meaningless work, shallow trends, or silent injustices. Socrates' life asks, where will you stand? Rebellion doesn't mean chaos. It means courage to live authentically. In 2025, when conformity tempts, be a rebel. Question what's wrong. Act on what's right. Try this. Find one lie in your life, a habit, a norm, a fear. Rebel against it. Speak, act, change. Socrates' rebellion inspired revolutionaries like Nelson Mandela, who questioned unjust systems. His soul's revolt is yours. Question fiercely, live truly, and let your life be a spark. This rebellion returns us to Socrates' core, a life of truth, examined and eternal. This was just one spark of wisdom, but there's so much more ahead. Join the journey. Subscribe to Socratic Spark, and let philosophy guide your path to success.